Rich. Thank you very much. We'll open up to Q&A. Does anyone have any questions for any of our panelists today?
What was your name again?
My name is Rich Higgins.
Oh, okay, because you weren't on this list.
Yeah, I'm the brewmaster over at Social Kitchen and Brewery and the president of the San Francisco Brewery, Brewers Guild. Yes.
Okay. Just about the thing you were talking about, because I wanted to ask you about that when you said it. I think this is very confusing. I'm the City Hall reporter for KCBS, so I've done stories about this, and it has been promoted as 5 cents a drink, that it's something that wholesalers would pay and that they can pass that along. And so what you're saying is different, and I'm wondering, is that just an assumption that you're making? Have you had any discussions with your wholesalers about how they would deal with this? Why do you think that it automatically would get multiplied by 30%? And where does that come from?
That comes from the California Small Brewers Association. They're a trade, they're a trade group or I guess a legal and lobbying group that represents the brewing industry in California and against the small brewers. That fee is going to be paid initially by the wholesalers, but the burden will be upon the small brewers to figure out exactly how much that fee is assessed per beer and per unit of beer.
And the assumption is that they will all pass that along, that they will not absorb any of that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any business model where people just absorb costs just for
fun.
Right,
the supervisors, this John Evans who introduced this, his assumption is that at the retail level, whether it's 5 cents or 75 cents, that will then get passed on. But it seems as though, I think what you said, that you wouldn't be able to pass it on. So
it's up to each business owner if they feel that they have the.
I mean, if it's 75 cents, it's not really just a nickel that you're passing on.
And it's not just a nickel, and that's the thing that kind of blows your mind. I mean, do you pass it on or not? I mean, that's the issue. I mean, I'll be, we live in a great city, but we don't live in a vacuum. So I'm competing with people in Oakland and Marin that are doing the same thing. Same with the health fee. I mean, some restaurants you go to absorb it, some put it on the bill, some just raise their prices. But another thing that bears mentioning is that for the wholesaler or a small brewer, which I deal with these guys a lot, I mean, they don't have a lot of manpower. And to implement something like this is just kind of crazy. And let's just not talk about breweries, let's talk about wineries, because there's a lot of wineries and micro distilleries in the Bay Area as well, is that you're going to have almost a separate department for dealing with San Francisco. So your pricing is going to have to be different. If you have a computer system, you're going to have different SKUs. You're also going to have to report all this tax somehow back to the city, and I don't know if they've even talked about how that's going to go, but I'm sure the burden is going to be on that wholesaler, supplier, and also the retailer. So if I'm a small brewer, I'm looking at, man, I can barely get everything done. Or if I'm a small winery, I'm just trying to get everything done as well. And now I'm going to have to figure out how I charge San Francisco over Oakland. I'm also going to have to figure out how that affects my prices, how I'm going to report to San Francisco, because I want to be in compliance. I don't want to screw it up and be fined. And heck, why don't I just not sell to San Francisco? I mean, do I really need to? I could sell everything to Marin. I could sell everything to Oakland. I could sell everything to Reno, Nevada. Why screw with it? And I can't really blame them for that. I mean, where that really upsets me is I'm a niche retailer. I need those guys. Plus, it's just, I feel my responsibility to represent California. When people come out to San Francisco, they want to go to the restaurants and see California and West Coast products, whether it be food or with wine or beer or spirits. And there's something to be thinking about there. And then also with that cost, so those costs, the 5 cents, it's not just being, do we absorb it, do we pass it on? A wholesaler will pass it on, I can guarantee they will. But also the costs that are involved in managing that system and that paperwork. And that burden's, it's pretty clear. That's going to have to be dealt with on all those levels as well.
And then just a related question. Most of the restaurants that I go into now in San Francisco have an added fee for the Healthy San Francisco or the this or the that they kind of put at the bottom of the bill. And I think the sense is that restaurants will just do that and that people will be happy to pay it. And in fact, people haven't seemed to resent it. I haven't not gone back to a restaurant because I've had to pay an extra fee. So, I mean, is that possible that people could just get used to this and be happy to contribute to, you know, combating the ill effects of alcohol?
Well, I don't think it's about the ill effects of alcohol. I mean, I think that's one of the fallacies about it personally.
Well, but that's what it's peddled as, and that's what.
Right, right. Well, it's. I mean, I can disagree with that. I mean, but to answer your question, no. I mean, I don't think people will get used to it. I mean, I think people, and I deal with a lot of people from the Bay Area and internationally and nationally as well, because I'm right by Moscone Center. And you know, I don't deal with that exact fee. I'll be dealing with this. People will roll their eyes. It's something that they'll say, oh, this is San Francisco. This is crazy. Why am I dealing with this? And you know, I mean, at some point, I think it makes sense. People aren't going out to eat as much either now because they can't afford it. I think everybody's seeing that. I don't think you can argue that.
Yeah, I think Philippe also wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, I was just in your restaurant.
Thank you. The only fee that I passed on the customer lately, on the minimum wage and everything like that, was the health care. And I decided it was a very big decision for me. Do I keep all my 25 employees that work for me for a long time and keep 7 days a week open, or do I close 1 day and then have 18 employees? So I decided I'm coming from a country which is France. I'm coming from a country where we have healthcare, where it's not a luxury to have healthcare. So I decided to put my employee with healthcare. But it's not even a minimum. This is not for somebody to get sick. It's very minimum. So those taxes, I don't understand the use of it. The city has to balance the budget, not passing on us the business, because we cannot raise our price all the time. We cannot, because of this, we cannot raise. I will not raise my price because of alcohol or whatever. And as the gentleman said earlier, it takes from our profit directly. So, and the customer cannot have this tax. When they eat, when they have a menu, when they buy a filet mignon, they don't want to add the cost of it. They will not understand. And definitely we are seeing less customer. We are working more to keep our business open. That the city has to understand that. Thank you.
And one last comment on that. When someone is paying an extra $2 or $4 at the end of their bill to support San Francisco healthcare, that's for hospitality employees. And so when you're when you're paying your check at a restaurant, you say, thank you very much, I had a great meal, and you tip them, and you're okay. The connection is made. You're okay paying a little bit for their healthcare. When you see an alcohol fee at the end of it, should that be passed on in that form? The alcohol fee will the people will question and say, well, why am I paying this? Because I'm not contributing to the need for these services. I'm not, being carted off to the ER, twice a week or whatever. It's the sort of thing where it's just, it's, I think the alcohol industry is a low-hanging fruit for a lot of budget-hungry, a lot of revenue-hungry supervisors. And I don't think that there's a connection between particularly the craft beer industry and the wine industry that ends up, there's not a connection between our products and the services that are necessary right now. Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions, we'll go ahead and conclude today's press conference. Thanks again for coming.
Big.